Hi, welcome on into Courtside. I'm your host, Courtney Webb, and this is a digital series about QVC entrepreneurs. And we have one that's been with us for quite some time, Mr. Ray Rastelli. Ray, welcome on in.
Oh, it's great to see you, Courtney.
You too. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Happy to.
So I just have to dive straight in because this is a family business that you've all created. And how many generations are involved?
So we're now into our third generation, and my grandson will be our fourth generation if God spares.
That is incredible. Congratulations on that. I'm sure that's such an amazing accomplishment. So which generation are you within the generational family lineup?
So I actually started the business 44 years ago, but prior to that, my dad was in the smoked meat business. So that's kind of where I cut my teeth. Every summer I'd be in his plant and I would be, shoveling sawdust into the smokehouses. And you just it gets in your blood. And once it's in your blood, it's just part of you. And of course, being part of an Italian family, that means everything centers around food in our house.
Oh, I love that. Well, I'm not Italian, but I feel like my family might be just from that saying. So as far as the idea of Rastellis, you said obviously it started off with your interest in the butcher shop with your dad, but tell me how the business actually started to kind of come to fruition.
So we're going to go way back because I was only 18 years old and I was really a struggling musician. That was my first passion. And of course, summers and weekends, I'd work at the meat factory with my dad. And a little donut shop kind of came up for sale. For rent, I should say, right in the town I grew up in. And of course, I love donuts. And one Sunday morning, I walked up to the donut shop and I saw the owner whitewashing the windows. And I said, well, what are you going to do at the donut shop? What happened? And she said, well, it went out of business, but the store's for rent. Now, the store was only 15 feet wide and it was 30 feet deep. But, she said, do you want to rent it? I said, well, how much is it? She said, $130 a month. And I said, you know what?
Oh.
I'll rent it. She said, what are you going to put here? And I said, well, I'm not really sure, but for $130 a month, I figure I'm going to try it. It was right next to an Italian delicatessen and a pizza shop. So it already had customers coming. So I thought maybe a butcher shop would work. And that's how I started with my wife. We had just gotten married. We had just turned 19. And it was time to make a real living.
Oh my goodness. So your craving for a donut led to a butcher shop.
That's pretty much it. Yes.
Oh my goodness. That's incredible. And so where was that first butcher shop?
So that first butcher shop was in a little town called Oak Valley, which is in Deptford, New Jersey. And it was 15 feet wide and 30 feet deep. And, for the first few years, we really struggled. We didn't really know how to run a butcher shop. And I was very fortunate. I hired a butcher out of South Philadelphia and his wife. Unfortunately, he's passed away, but his wife's still with me after 44 years. She still works with us in the family business. And we learned the business from the ground up. We really learned how to cut meat. Most importantly, we learned how to work with our customers, and that was easy for me because I was always taught from the very, very beginning from my dad and my mom, it was, treat people with the same respect you want, make everyone your friend because there's no reason they shouldn't be.
That is so true. And I was doing a little digging in the history, and I loved that you created this because the community also needed a butcher shop. Was that right?
South Jersey, where I grew up, really didn't have any butcher shops. Most of the butcher shops were in South Philadelphia. So it was great to be able to bring that South Philadelphia feel to South Jersey, where certainly lots of folks migrated from South Philadelphia into South Jersey. So I don't want to say it was an instant success, but after a couple of years, we kind of really got our feet under us. We started to understand the business. We wound up opening 10 of those butcher shops over the course of the next 12 years. So really in South Jersey, our butcher shops really became synonymous with a quality product. And that Courtney, led to restaurants coming to our back door. And I would have Mrs. Jones come in the front door and we'd sell her some ground beef and some chicken breast, $20, $30, $40. But I'd have Mr. Restaurateur come to the back door and say, I need 200 pounds of ground beef and 100 pounds of pork chop. So all of a sudden, I realized there was more to our business. So it's wonderful to have the butcher shop and have the folks come in the front door and deal with them every day. But it was really fun to be able to work with the restaurants out of the back door. And that's how our business really expanded into the food service business. And today, 40 some odd years later, there's over 10,000 restaurants that that are using our product, not just here in the States, but actually all over the world.
That is so true. I mean, I was looking up the diversity of which you offer. So we can find Rastelli's foods, or meats particularly, and fish products, seafood, on QVC.com. But tell me the breadth of what you serve to us, because it's not just meat anymore. We've gotten into seafood and a couple other things.
We have, we started off just with steaks because that's really what we're known for. But all the other things that we bring to the restaurant industry, we thought, why not bring it to our QVC family, right? So when we started with steaks and we moved into chops, and now we're doing some roast ready products, lots of seafood, like shrimp and salmon and tilapia. And these are all the same things that we service and sell our customers in the butcher shop. So as we really got to understand QVC and the QVC family and what she really likes at home and the way she likes to have it packaged and prepared, it became a real passion for myself and my son, who really is involved in the QVC family and in putting these things together. And for us, it's been really a nice business segment, but to be perfectly honest with you, it's really become a family. I can't tell you how much in my 40 plus years I love something like I love QVC. The guests on QVC, the hosts on QVC, the customers that come that I get to talk to and who email me and Instagram me. It's wonderful because it's a big family, and I've gotten to know thousands and thousands of new friends through it. So it's more than just a business for me. It's really part of it, just extending our family.
I definitely agree with you on that. When I joined QVC also, I just thought, wow, one, the quality of the products that we offer is incredible, but two, the people. I mean, the reason why we're all together is to be able to go into someone's home and say, hey, do you want to try something new? Do you want to learn about something? And then it's up to them to make that decision. So I definitely agree with you. But what actually brought you to QVC? Because I know you from QVC. But tell me about when was your entry into QVC and why did you choose to be there, and then what that was all like?
So, this was something that my son, his name is Ray as well, Ray the Third, and he's been seen on QVC a bit, and he's going to be doing more and more airings. But he brought it to me one day. He said, Dad, I think our product line fits here. I think the guests would enjoy it at home. The guests have been coming into the butcher shop forever. Why not share this with guests all over the country? And we went on air. It was a day in February. It was the very, very first day. I'll never forget it. And of course, I was scared to death because I had never done this thing before. I've talked to guests across the butcher shop, and across the counter, but never really on television. So I got there for the first airing, and they, QVC said, you're going to have 2 airings today. You're going to be on with Rick Domeyer at between 4 and 6, and you're going with David Venable between 8 and 10 at night. And I thought, let's see how this goes, And we were fortunate enough that the QVC guests responded to us so well that we sold out everything in the first show. So I never got to work with David until a few weeks later. But it was really fun. And I think, working with the buyers there, they understand what the QVC guest really wants. And I think that's really critical, knowing what the customer wants and being able to get the vendors or the butchers in our case to really understand and do the same thing.
That is definitely true. How cool that was your first airing. You ended up selling out. That's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So you mentioned a little bit ago how food was kind of the center of your family. So I just have a question. What are you eating at the family dinner? I mean, do you just kind of cycle through like meat and then seafood? But what's the main dish that your family loves to partake in? So
during the week is really the experimental stuff, right? During the week, it's we'll do things like tacos, but with different kinds of meat. So whether sometimes it's fish taco or it's a pork taco, a steak taco. I kind of love experimenting with things I can stuff, right? So I love taking steak, pounding it out thin, rolling it with some asparagus and putting some hollandaise. So, I mean, there's so many different things you can do, but Sunday is always our gravy day or sauce day, right? So it's always about meatballs, sausage, raviolis, homemade gnocchis and raviolis that really just speak to me, because when I grew up, that's what I did. Every Sunday was at my grandmother's house. And I remember those times with such incredible memories and passion. And now we get to do that because we have 10 grandkids, and those 10 grandkids are over on Sundays. And for us, that's what it's all about. It's all about family. And it's one of the reasons I fell in love with QVC, because it's such a wonderful family. And I can say that in all honesty, it has been some of the best times I've spent has been with the QVC family.
Oh, that is so great. So as far as you've 10 grandkids, awesome.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And they're all they're
Yeah.
9 and under, so you can imagine what it's like on a Sunday.
Fun and entertaining and never a dull moment, I assume.
Yes.
Fantastic. Well, family obviously is a big part of you. I mean, you obviously love family. You speak about it so authentically. Tell me a little bit about what it's like having a family business. What are some of the obvious pros of having a family business, but then how do you balance and keep family and work separate? I mean, what does that look like for you and your family?
Yeah, you know, Courtney, I get that question probably more than I get any question, because running a family business is difficult. It's got its challenges, but there are so many rewards. So, you know, I've got my son, who I mentioned. I've got my younger brother and his son and his daughter. I have my son-in-law, my daughter-in-law. So there's so many of us that are involved in the business. And one of the keys that I found very early on was separate the responsibilities, clearly define their roles and their responsibilities so that we don't do any crossover. And it works. And everybody stays in their lane, stays in their silos. And that helps from the business side. But from the family side, what's really important is they know I expect 100% from my employees. My family knows I expect 120% from them all the time. So, you know, they're here because they have the same passion we do. But when we're outside of work, you know, it's just all family. And, you know, whether it's our immediate family, my brother, my sisters, and their families together, you know, that's what life to us is all about. And food is always the centerpiece. You know, it's always the piece that we're either talking about a recipe, we're talking about a product, we're talking about the flavors that we like, how we cooked it. And that's why it's so easy for me to be able to relate to on QVC, because that's really what we do. You know?
Yeah. Well, and you're able to kind of chit chat and get those little, oh yeah, try this seasoning or add this meat in that. And I'm sure that's just been a fun conversation to experiment and also try things as a family, which is really great. So you've extended what you do to the troops. I was reading a little bit about how you've extended your craft, which is creating amazing quality meats, to our troops. Tell me a little bit about that.
So I have to tell you, it's one of the most proud things that we've ever done and continue to do. In 1993, the U.S. government kind of tapped Rastellis to support our troops in the first Gulf War. And, you know, what's really critical about an American military personnel, wherever they're at in the world, the U.S. government makes sure they always have food, meat, seafood, and all the other products that come from America. They want to make sure they're eating the right product, high quality product. So I really commend our government for making a stand that way. But our forces, our men and women who are risking their lives every day to let us have this freedom, we don't take that lightly. And we don't ever take that for granted. So we were fortunate enough back in 1993 for the government to come to us to help support the troops. And even through to today, we are the largest supplier of our troops in the Middle East. So if you've got a family member who's in Afghanistan or Kuwait or Iraq or Oman or Jordan, they're eating product that's coming, you know, from our facility, and we're really proud of it. We wear that badge incredibly proud, and we thank them every single day for that.
Well, that also is just such an amazing testament, because I do have family who serve and who have served. And so just to hear that that was what they were experiencing, they were getting that food and it's coming from you, is even more inspiring and interesting. So thank you for doing that and taking the time to actually think of our troops. And that we really appreciate that.
It's important.
So going into being an entrepreneur, obviously you just mentioned you pick certain things where you get to choose what's a priority. So what would you give advice-wise to someone who maybe is getting into the food business for the first time or is interested in pursuing a job in the food industry? What is a tip that you could give them or a mindset that they could take away from this interview?
Well, I think the food industry is by far the most competitive. There is no question about it. It's the most competitive business. So you have to have enough passion and enough intestinal fortitude to stay with it. But one bit of advice I will tell you is never take a shortcut. Always give the customer what higher than their expectations are, because customers remember when it's on the plate. they remember how good it is. They remember how much their family members around them are saying, I love that pork chop, or I love that steak. Where did you get it? So making that homemaker really part of your life. Don't take a shortcut. Just give the very, very best in quality, and the rest will take care of itself.
That is fantastic advice. I think even if you're not in the food industry or looking to get into it, I mean, personally, just as an individual living day to day, don't take a shortcut. Don't take a shortcut in your health and in the things that you choose to do and the time spent even. So I think that can transition across the board. So thank you for sharing me that. Now, as far as, has there ever been a moment where it was a pivotal moment for you, where you had to step up or someone challenged you or you had an opportunity and you really had to pull out all the stops to make it work? Was there ever a moment that you're saying, this actually changed the way that I did business?
Yeah, I'm going to go back to 1993 when the government came to us and said, we need you to help. We need you to support our troops. Now, you can think about this, Courtney, and I'll give it to you in numbers.
Okay.
At that point in time, we were processing about one 40-foot container. That's a 40,000-pound load of product on a monthly basis that we would ship to the Middle East, actually primarily for the UN, and that's why they came to us. So overnight, when unfortunately we went to war, the government came to us and said, we don't need one more container. We don't need a container a month now. We need 200 containers a week.
Oh my goodness.
So you can imagine what that did. So our family pulled together, all of the folks that work with us, and I say that because no one works for me. All the folks in this family work with us. We pulled together. We worked day and night, 7 days a week, to be able to get up to those 200 containers in literally 30 days, because that's what was asked of us. So that was pivotal for us to understand the magnitude of what we were capable of doing. And that's helped us. That's helped us grow now in our other businesses and recognize that there's nothing we can't overcome as long as we have the planning and the right procedures to do it right.
Yes, that is amazing. I can't even imagine getting that number and saying, how are we going to do that?
Yes.
And you just obviously pulled up your bootstraps and worked with your entire team and said, okay, how are we going to make it happen? That's phenomenal. Well, good job. I don't even know if I could produce something like that. That is so amazing. So is there a mentor or someone that you look to when you're kind of, I don't know, maybe trying to be a little more optimistic, or you're having a struggling day or a moment or a season? Is there someone who you're like, you know what, I think of this person and they help me kind of change my mindset and look forward?
Well, I'm a half glass full guy. Everything to me, I look at everything optimistically, but there are a couple of things that are really critical. One, I had a wonderful mom and dad. Unfortunately, passed away a year or two ago. But I will tell you, I grew up in an environment that was simple. It was work really hard, be as honest as you can be, and everything will happen. So as a young boy, and even as a young man, the thing that I could do best was make them proud. So that was the first mentor I had, was my parents. But I will tell you, the driving force today is that, I've got lots of families here in the butcher shops and in the processing areas that depend on me to make the right decisions, right? Depend on our management team to do the right things. And I don't take that lightly. There's thousands of mouths that we feed every single week. So we make sure that's it's a critical part of what we do.
That is, that really, parents are the foundation for sure. And then being able to know who is on the receiving end of your product, I think is definitely motivation. That is definitely true. So as far as looking to the future, is there anything else coming up for you that you're excited about? Or is there like a sneak peek meet that we just don't know about yet?
Well, over the past couple of years, we've really developed some really unique things for QVC, and that's not going to stop. So you're going to start to see some more fully prepared products, because what our guest has said, we love cooking, whether it's your steaks or your turkey roast or your hams. But are there things that you can bring to us that are quick and easy, maybe microwavable? We've introduced some things that are now already seasoned in a cooking bag. So you just take it you leave it in the bag right in your oven and you pull it out. So we've recognized that consumers' behavior changes a little bit. Some days we want to really spend the time and cook a full meal. Some days we just want to make it really simple, easy, fast. So we have been developing more and more of those products, and I can't wait to show the QVC guest in the upcoming months some of them things.
Oh, that's gonna be a fun showing. I can't wait for you to come back into the studio. We definitely miss having
Yeah,
all of our
I missed that.
GBC
Yeah.
fam there. So I just want to take us back one little step before we kind of get to the end of this. But tell me what it was like growing up. You mentioned your parents, you mentioned the support system, and I loved what you said about working hard and being as honest as you can be. I think those are two traits we can all take away today and apply them in our lives. But what was your growing up life like?
Well, I was, again, fortunate to have wonderful parents. And I grew up in a little town, called Oak Valley. And it's a great little town because it was very sports oriented. So, right, it was basketball, baseball, football, soccer, and it was a community. And I think that's what really rounded out me more than anything, that I belong to a community. And these are the same people that I still talk to today. I still go back to that community, which is only about 5 miles from the butcher shop. And that's the first butcher shop that I opened up, was in that community. So it was a wonderful place to grow up. And you just never, ever forget where you came from. That keeps you really grounded.
It does, for sure. And then as far as where you're going, I mean, you're obviously growing the business. You're in different restaurants. I mean, you work with a lot of famous people I've been seeing as far as your company is concerned. But you're looking to pass down to the grandkids, I'm assuming, right? I mean, this is going to be a long-standing tradition. What's it like to say, I'm going to pass this down to, fifth, sixth, seventh generations?
Yeah, it's hard. It's very hard. It's probably the most difficult thing because you never want to really let go of your baby. But my son is an incredible young man, and my daughter-in-law and the rest of my kids, I think they learned a pretty good work ethic. They understand what it takes to work hard. They understand what it takes to make sure you give back. I felt confident in that because when the next generation comes on board, all they are really going to be able to do is hopefully draw from the things that I've been able to teach them, just like I was able to draw from what my dad and mom taught me.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's something that is going to be time testing. You'll be able to see that. But
Yeah.
I've been noticing, I saw this great video of the inside of your factories and all of the work and the sanitation and the immense checking that you do. Tell me a little bit about your facility and why it's just so, I think, a standard of what it should be.
Yeah, it is so important, and I don't really get too far into this when we get on air because it gets a bit technical. But we are what's considered SQF level 3 now. It doesn't mean anything to most people, but I will tell you that less than 2% of the food companies in this country are at that level. And that's so critical. What that means is food safety is at the very, very top of our list of all the things we do. So sanitation, not just after the shifts, but we have systems in place that we are cleaning all day long. So to give you an idea, when we cut a piece of meat, before the next piece of meat gets in front of that butcher, that table is actually automatically sanitized, right? We want to make sure the environment is so clean. The air in which they breathe inside our facility is a filtered air. It's cleaner than the air outside. So we've taken every step possible. And thank goodness through this, this difficult time we're in, we haven't missed a beat. Our folks have come to work. We've done the things that are required way above and beyond the norm because they're part of our family, right? You treat family that way. You want to make sure everyone is protected. But food safety is at the very, very top of the list, Courtney, and it always will be.
Yeah, well, we appreciate it for sure. I know the first time I had a Rastelli burger was the first thing that I've ever tasted. And then the seasoning packet that you gave with that Rastelli burger, I was like, honey, we have to buy this for everyone in our family. And we ended up sending the set of 12 to my husband has got 5 brothers. He's one of 6. And so we were just like, guys, everyone's getting meat and just know it's coming.
You make lots of friends doing that.
You do. That's true. And I'm from Texas. So sending meat is the best way to send a gift.
Yes.
Well, is there anything else that you'd like to share with us that maybe we didn't know about Rastellis or words of wisdom to part with before we finish?
Well, I think when you think about a food product, you want to always make sure you know where it's coming from. And I talk about that on air all the time. Being out here for 40 plus years, those family farmers that raise our livestock, we know them. They're part of our family. When that product gets to us and we handle it and cut it and package it for you at home, well, that's critical because now you know who's doing that work for you. And I say it all the time, You got to trust your butcher just like you trust your doctor and you trust your attorneys and you trust your accountants because they're the ones that are feeding your family.
Yeah, that is very, very true. And I never thought of it until you just said it. That I'm like, yes, oh my goodness, I should really know where my food is coming from. It's what's powering me and the vessels that we have, these one of a kind vessels. So thank you so much, Ray. We appreciate the time and coming out, and we can't wait to see you again at QVC.
I can't wait to be back. Thank you so much. It's great to see you.
Thank you, you too. Have a good one.
Okay.